Hello everyone, this was a stream that I did. It was the longest stream I've ever done. It was about 2 hours. I'm using the PICO A palette to create some caricatures of World War II airplanes. And here I'm sketching out a P-51. I'm sort of explaining that I don't want to do a full side view because that's fairly uninteresting, so to speak. So instead I'm doing like a 3/4 view. And what you see me do it originally was kind of figure out the silhouette of the airplane. And then I did that, the cockpit, I was trying to use blue. The point is I was trying to use as much colors of the palette as possible. And there's a little bit of difficulty in including all of those colors. So as fast as I can, I try and put down the color, the paint scheme, and add some details that hold the shapes in their own place. So the vertical cut lines on the airplane are actually quite useful to demonstrate the shape of the airplane. I use this dithering pattern here, but I actually change my mind after the stream is over because it's really, I kind of failed to understand what I personally was doing, because the difference from the gray to the sort of olive green or military gray is actually, it's not a transition. A soft transition is actually a change in the paint, a literal change in the paint. Changing the paint. So what I'm doing here with the cuts and the panel lines is actually trying to put detail where there isn't any that I can paint. And luckily I've sort of designed this image to have 3 light sources. So there's the direct sun, and that's what causes this highlight on the glass and the highlight on the airplane. And then there's bounce light from the ground, and then there's light from the sky, which I can use to sort of do tiny highlights on the top side of the plane. So this is the Supermarine Spitfire, this one. And this has a slightly different shape, and the shape is so different that I kind of can't negotiate with myself the whole point of the tail of the airplane coming down so quickly to do the little shape on the tail. So we kind of, have to live with this idea that the shape of the airplane is going to be really deformed regarding the original shape. So this is a detail on the side of the airplane, and I put it there because the fact that it's curved is actually quite helpful to, again, show the shape of the body of the plane. Now, I'm doing a lot of transforming, and I was always very scared of doing that, but since I saw people using Pixelart softwares, software designed specifically for Pixelart that have those tools and allow for those tools, I've been way much more relaxed with that. I'm really not annoyed with using transform at all. So the other thing I do, especially considering that I want to have those thin lines, that like the radio antenna that goes from that little post on the cockpit connected to the tail. The way I do that looking thinner is I actually make it with a brighter color. I know it kind of makes sense, but when you're using such a limited palette, you kind of have to force that everything around it is darker so that color that you have actually looks brighter, and the pixels look smaller, which they aren't actually smaller. So this is the what is this? This is a Mitsubishi Zero, I think it is. It's a Japanese plane, and it has probably the most peculiar canopy shape. It's very specific to this model. And again, I just draw the highlights to define my light source, and it's going to be the same light source as the rest of the airplanes. I also do that little circle on the side. And here I was trying out the color scheme, and I was really afraid it wouldn't work. And I'm also copying the pilot from the other planes, just so that there's something in the cockpit, so that the plane doesn't look like it's flying on its own. Now the black here really works well in carving out the holes on the front there by adding that contrast, and it allows me to also put in a shadow. So that reminds me that I can do a bounce light, because that black is actually really, really dark and glossy, so I can reflect both the sky and the ground back onto that shape. And I think it adds detail to something that overall doesn't really have all that much detail, because these are supposed to be large shapes, and I'm really afraid that they don't look good. So here I'm trying different colors for the background just as a way to see if this would work. And here I'm explaining how I do my outlines and seeing how they look on the airplane. I give up on the outlines. I don't think they need it right now. So here I'm showing, that was the Kitty Hawk, was one of the airplanes I also quite like. But I end up doing a Messerschmitt, which is a German World War II. I don't know, these aren't called fighter airplanes. I just call it the airplanes. So this is the Messerschmitt, I think BF 109. It's actually one of the most popular as well. But luckily, this one had a really, really cool color scheme. So I actually just almost started by painting the color scheme first, and then going in for the panel lines and for the particular shapes. Again, doing the bounce light underneath the wing actually helps show that that is a wing, because the panel lines communicate the perspective really well. As well as adding the highlight going across the airplane, I can kind of go across all of the colors and put in a brighter version of all of those colors. Now, all the airplanes have the wings sort of tucked in, not the wings, the wheels tucked in on the wings, but this one specifically, I saw in the reference that they can't do that with a back wheel, so I add a wheel to all of them. So this is the final result. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time.